Yeah, we at the party and it's lit. I'm on Lucy booty juicy, but I told her
3, 2, 1. What is going on, everybody? This is the Undefeated by Choice podcast brought to you by SteelFist Fights. Yes, I am happy to announce we are back officially, and we are sponsored by SteelFist Fights. We are now the exclusive podcast for all the fighters, the upcoming cards, and all things Utah MMA. Before I get into anything, I'm stumbling over my words because I'm so excited to be back, be behind the mic. But I have to just start out by saying I'm so thankful for SteelFist working this out with us, that we can do this. I love doing this podcast. I love talking to athletes and fighters in particular. There's just something about the mindset of a fighter, someone who's going to go put themselves in harm's way for the entertainment of others. It's just, what does it take to become someone like that, to do something like that? And I love kind of diving into that and getting to talk to these fighters. SteelFist stepped up, saw that the show was down and that we needed help and we needed someone to come in and save us. And they came in and said, why don't you become the sole podcast for our fights, help promote our fights, help get our fighters' names out there. And there's nothing I would be rather doing than that. I believe in Utah sports. I believe in Utah athletics. I believe in Utah fighters. I've always said that Utah is a fight state. I've always tried to tell people, outside of Utah, that Utah it's a secret. It's a hub of fighting. If you go to a Buffalo Wild Wings on any given night, there's a fight going on, it's packed. It's a packed house. It's full of fight fans. SteelFist is the biggest production in Utah, and they always have good numbers coming out there. And I've just told people, I've told the guys at SteelFist, with the numbers that we're already pulling in, if more people in Utah knew about these cards, because that's the one thing I get when I talk to people and I tell people hey, I'm working with SteelFist now, and we are, I'm gonna do the promotions for them. They're like, they do that here in Utah? I get that question from people that I know, that I'm close with, that I talk to a lot. They're like, fights go on here in Utah? These are guys I go and watch the fights with, that I go out to watch the pay-per-view events with, and they're saying, we do that here in Utah? So, I'm grateful for this opportunity that I have to shine a light on Utah sports. We've got number of fighters that have fought at the top level, great coaching, and it's a great place to train. If you think about it, all these fighters go out to elevation training, and Utah is just built-in elevation training for us. I mean, you go hiking in the mountains and you're set, and there's just a lot about it. There's just a lot about this state that breeds good support with athletics. You go to any Jazz game, you go to any Utah State, University of Utah, BYU, football, basketball, Weber State basketball, it doesn't matter. If you go, there's always good support. And I've always wondered why it hasn't seemed like there's been more fight support for our local fighters, and I just think it's simply knowing that it's going on. So that's my goal, that's my job, that's what I'm here to do, is help bring and shed some light on what it is we're doing in the fighters that we have here in the state, because we have some amazing fighters, and not only fighters in the state, but fighters that are coming to the state, fighters that are asking to come and fight Utah, fighters that are asking to come in here because they want to challenge themselves. So that's the goal, that's what we're doing. So every fight card, I'm going to be doing interviews with fighters. I got one coming up tomorrow. I've got a few this week, and then I'm going to probably knock out 2 more next week, right before the card on March 22nd, which is such an exciting card. If you do not have your tickets already, make sure you get your tickets for this card. It is going to be a great card. Just the main event, Lucas Montoya and Clay Collard. These guys are veterans. These guys have battled the best of the best. They've been in there. They've dug deep. They've done everything that you can do in the sport. They've seen everything that you can see in the sport. There's nothing new to them. These are 2 guys that are going to be polished, professional athletes going in there and putting it all out for our entertainment. And I'm so excited to watch this fight. It's not my job to make predictions, and I would hate to even have that job. I'd hate to be even asked to do that job, because this is one of those fights that for me looking at it on the outside, it's 50-50. These guys are that good. They're both that good. So this is an exciting card. And then, I mean, the fight right before that, the co-main event, Caitlin Neal versus Shannon Sin. These two women, again, they're top of the food chain. They are top level athletes going in there, and this is another one that I don't know where it's gonna. I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm just excited to watch it. The whole card is great. The whole card is excellent. It's a stacked card. I was talking to someone earlier today about these fights in Utah and SteelFist setting up fights, and I by no means is it easy to be a matchmaker. But in Utah, it's nice being a matchmaker because there's so many talented fighters to pick from. And then now we're starting to pull in from outside of Utah, and we're really just starting to get some great matches. So if you haven't got your tickets for March 22nd yet, get your tickets, come out, watch the fight. It's going to be great. And come say hi to me if you see me out there. And if you're out there, you'll see me because I will be out there 100%. I will not miss another SteelFist card. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm doing the episodes leading up to the fights, interviewing fighters. But what I'm doing right now, what I'm going to do today, is something I'm going to do once a week where I just kind of break down all things MMA, kind of just go over what's going on in the week, the landscape of MMA, just kind of give my opinion. I'm going to call this segment just my opinion because that's all it is. I'm not a professional. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't have any inside source. And it's just me doing my thing. So I'm going to stop saying so much. And now that I've brought that up, you're gonna notice I say it too much. I'm not going to. This week, at the landscape in the MMA right now, there's not a whole lot of news going on. It's just kind of one of those slow weeks leading up to whatever their next card is, and we got some good stuff though. Valentina Shevchenko is defending her title against Jessica Ai. Now, the reason this is the first one I'm going to go to is because also in the month of May, we have Rose Namajunas going against Jessica Andrade. I am so high on women's MMA right now. I love PFL just announced their women's bracket for the $1 million prize. This is one of those good moments for women's MMA. We got 2 titles on the line with Jessica and Valentina, and then Andrade and Rose, and then the tournament, the PFL tournament. The reason I'm so I love women's MMA so much is because I'm a father to a little girl, and there's nothing more as a father that I want to have a little girl who is confident, who can defend herself, who feels safe and protected, who feels like she doesn't need someone to come in and save her. Anything that a father would want for a little girl, I see that in women's MMA. I see what they can, what gift they can be given if they just practice martial arts at a young age. So it's something that is always near and dear to my heart. Every time I see these girls go in there fighting, I'm thinking like that could be my daughter, or not only that, but she could have those skills. Like maybe she doesn't choose to step into the cage. That'll definitely be her choice. I will not push her one way or the other, but to do martial arts, I will push her to do that because, I look and I see that technique, those skills. That's something that I could give to my daughter. That's something that she can have that will help her. I mean, you rarely meet martial artists who are scared people. They may, a lot of them. I've heard a lot of fighters talk about how every fighter is insecure. That's why they do it. They just want the cheers of the people, but I'm not talking about fighters. I'm talking about martial artists. It's hard to find a martial artist who's scared in life, who doesn't know how to just go after what they want. So I'm really high on women's MMA, and I'm excited. Valentina Shevchenko is just she's an absolute killer. She's a technician, unlike a lot. She is unlike almost anybody. She's just such a good technical fighter. Her fight with Joanna was great to watch, even though she was completely outsized. And then Well, I think that was their first fight, or in when they fought in Muay Thai. But then she took it to her when they fought at her weight class, when they fought at Valentina's weight class, and it was still just a great fight to watch. I don't know why I had a brain. You know, I missed. I forgot that she beat her. She gives up size, but she still is just a freak of nature, and she's just so fun to watch. So that will be a good fight to watch. And of course, how can you not be a fan of Rose? I mean, how she carries herself, what she does in the octagon. I don't know how you cannot be a fan of her. So, the women's MMA scene is super exciting, and the next couple months, June. Or May and June, and then the PFL tournament whenever that starts, it's a good time to watch. So the next thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the heavyweight landscape. I think, obviously the question is, who's Cormier going to fight next? And there's a lot of names that could be up there, and he's so dominant. It's hard to really, put anybody up who's really going to be a challenger, but I don't really want to talk about him per se. I mean, I know a lot of talks are Brock, and personally, just my opinion, I don't want to see Brock again. I don't care to see Brock. I don't think he's a real fighter. I think he does the UFC what he does the WWE, and he just shows up, thinks that it's time for him to get a title shot. He thinks he deserves a belt every time he steps in, and he shows up and then he disappears and he goes away. And I'm just tired of it. I don't want to invest my energy or my cheering in or against somebody who's not even going to be there in the long run. And I really feel like the only reason he sells tickets is because they tell us he sells tickets. They tell us he's a big draw. So we're like, oh, this guy's a big draw. Well, then I better buy tickets for. It's like a mental thing that they're tricking us into paying attention to this guy who I don't care about. I don't want to see. So. I'm so tired of hearing about him. And one of the biggest pet peeves, one of the things that bother me the most is, everybody wants to complain about John Jones on PEDs. Everybody wants to say, his fights are discredited against Daniel Cormier because he's probably on PEDs. And then you want to set him up against Brock Lesnar. Does anyone else see an issue with that? No one else is thrown off by that we are so angry that John Jones tested positive for a small trace amount of PEDs that gave him no performance enhancement, but yet Brock Lesnar gets the title shot. No one else has an issue with that. That pisses me off more than anything. I think that is ridiculous that he's even in the conversation. One, because he's not a good fighter. Two, because he's one of the worst abusers of PEDs of anybody who's ever fought in the sport, other than Uberim. I do not understand that logic. I do not agree with it, and I think it's silly. That we even bring his name up. But all that aside, this fight this last weekend between Derek Lewis and Junior Dos Santos, I loved it. I loved what it did for the heavyweight division. I feel like it opened up the heavyweight division. With Junior coming off 3 knockout wins, now he's in that running. He's in that group of contenders. So what's next for Junior? That's a question, and I think what's next for Junior is what's next for anybody else, anybody in the top 3. So obviously the fight that they want to make is Ngannou, which will be a great fight. They're both stand-up fighters. Ngannou has the power. He has some slick boxing. Junior has some amazing boxing. Hits combos, hits hard. Likes to stand and bang. Could stand in there with Francis, not going to be scared to, but also has ground game, also has jits. So that is a very intriguing fight to me. Another fight that I would love to see is Junior versus Kane. Give Kane another shot, and he would be a good one to put against Junior because Junior's not ranked so high that you feel like you're trying to give him another top opponent, and so you're giving him someone that he could potentially have just a great match with. So I would really like to see maybe Kane and Junior. And then and they have history. They have history. That's a fight you can sell. And then you have Kane and Stipe, who also have history. They're 1-1 against each other. So let's have the rubber match with those guys. I don't understand how Stipe has not is just lost all opportunity to even get into title contention. He lost against Daniel, and it's just like, well, now what? We're not going to give him an automatic rematch for some strange reason. That's odd. But now we're not even going to give him a chance to redeem himself. So, yes, let's see this. Let's do this. Let's put him up against any one of those three, and you're going to have a good fight. You're going to have a great fight. And then whoever doesn't, let's maybe have Kane and Stipe. Is that a bad one? 2 former champs going against each other? I mean, these guys have already fought. Most of these guys have already all fought each other, other than Francis because he's kind of new, but they've all fought each other. But we know they're great fights. They all have been exciting fights. They're heavyweight fights. Of course they're exciting. So, take it for what it is. I really think that the heavyweight division is also very exciting right now. The division I'm not excited about right now, and it's unfortunate because for the longest time it was my favorite division, which is the light heavyweight division. And it's not John Jones' fault because he's just that much better than everybody. I'm not blaming him, but I'm not excited about this division because you have Chaco Santos and Johnny Walker who are coming up, but I mean, Chaco Santos, I feel like him versus John Jones, we've seen that before. I feel like we've seen the power puncher who has some great stand up, but he's more just a power striker. He's more knockouts. We've seen that. We've seen John Jones fight those guys before, and we've seen him defeat all of them. I feel like Chaco Santos right now is a younger, lesser version of already great fighters we've already seen John Jones face. And then you have Johnny Walker, who it's too soon. Don't make him so hot that we throw him in there too soon, and then you're like, well, what do we do with him now? That was kind of the situation with Francis. He went in, they gave him a title shot, he loses, and then they were kind of just like, well, what do we do with him now? So then they give him kind of another fight that he didn't perform well in because he was nervous because he just had lost, and it was ugly. It wasn't a great situation. So Johnny Walker, he has time. Let him build up. Let him develop. Let him get some more wins under his belt. Then feed him to the wolves. The wolf. But then where are we left at? Who does John Jones get after that? We have a fight that the fight itself I'm so excited for. The fight itself. Bring it on. Anthony Smith, Gustafsson. That's awesome. That is a killer fight. That fight excites me. That's a fight that I will tune into. That's a fight that I will not miss. That is a fight that I will cancel all my plans to watch. But what happens after the fight? What do we get after the fight? Because are we really going to see Gustafsson Jones 3? I'm not excited about that. I'm not excited to see Anthony Smith again get another title shot. I did not see him do anything in that fight other than eat an illegal knee that impressed me by any stretch. He said, John nullified me, and he absolutely did. Anthony Smith did not do anything in that fight. So after the Gustafsson Smith fight, I'm not excited to see where they go. I think, and Gustafsson said it himself. He said, if I don't beat Anthony Smith, maybe I just don't have it. And I don't think that's a knock to Anthony Smith, but he doesn't really have a lot of wiggle room. He doesn't really have a lot of places to go, unless he beats Smith in a decisive manner, knocks him out in the first round, or just completely, just embarrasses him. Unless he does that, he's just a journeyman for John Jones, because not many people are going to be lining up to see Gustafsson Jones 3. There was not enough in the second fight to prove that Gustafsson had what it took to beat John. So that division, unfortunately, right now and this moment, I'm not that excited to see. Now, if John goes up to heavyweight, I go back to loving this division. If John goes up to heavyweight, and I don't want to see him DC3 either. I'm not a fan of watching the same guy get beat over and over and over and over and over again. I don't think that Cormier has what it takes to beat John Jones. I think John Jones has his number at heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, cruiserweight. I don't care. I think John Jones has his number no matter what. So, but John Jones against Ngannou, that's an interesting fight. That's an interesting fight right there. John Jones versus Stipe, that's a killer fight. John Jones versus Kane. John Jones versus Junior Dos Santos. John Jones versus any of those top 5 guys is a good fight that I would be wanting to see. And I don't think it really tarnishes his legacy as being one of the greatest of all time, because I believe the greatest of all time. I don't think you have to be a multiple weight champion in order to be the greatest of all time. You just have to be showcasing, your skills at the highest level and dominant, so dominant that you're willing to take these risks and take on higher weights. If he takes this risk and takes it on these heavyweights and gets 2 or 3 wins, even if he never gets the belt, he's still the greatest of all time, because now he's proven, where that he's dominant everywhere and that he's willing to take risks with his dominance. He's not holding his dominance in and just saying, well, I'm just a light heavyweight. He's willing to take chances. And I think that is what makes you the greatest, is not only your ability to win, but your willingness to fight anybody, your willingness to win. So I would be very interested to see John Jones go up to heavyweight. And that's why I have no problem saying I think Demetrius Johnson's the great, one of the greatest of all time, and if not the greatest of all time, because of how dominant he was for how long. And I think he's going to go over to 1 and be completely dominant over there. His last fight against Henry Cejudo, Henry Cejudo controlled the fight. Henry Cejudo took him down, but he almost had Henry finished in the first round due to leg kicks. And Henry was wobbling on one leg. He rolled his ankle, I think, and was just so wobbly, couldn't stand. And Demetrius didn't pull the trigger for whatever reason, which is so strange because that's what he's known for doing. I mean, he's throwing arm bars in the last second of the round, of the 5th round, and landing it, and then he doesn't go in and finish Cejudo when he's going out. And it wasn't like Cejudo was laying a trap for him. It was obvious that his ankle tendon was loose or something, because his foot was just flopping around. So that whole fight was weird to me. And then he gets traded the very next day. And I'm not Eddie Bravo. I'm not a freaking conspiracy theorist, but man, if I had to choose one, that would have been the one that I'm going to go for, because I just don't see how that's what the result was. But anyways, I'm excited for him to be in 1. I hope they promote him the way that they need to. I hope that I'll be able to watch his fight still. I hope I'll be able to find. I mean, I haven't even really looked in how to watch those fights, but I want them to promote him correctly, because he's the greatest of all time. It was like watching a video game, watching him fight. So, and he's still young. He says he's still got 5 more years left. I believe him. I think he'll be a dominant champion for those 5 years, if not at least 4 of them. He might be his last year with his 1 foot in the out the door, so he may not give it, but who knows. He's such a smart, intelligent fighter, and he doesn't take a lot of damage. I'm excited to see it. So there you have it for just my opinion. If you disagree with anything I say, go ahead and leave a comment. I ain't too big. I'm gonna still read all the comments. Go ahead and tell me I'm dumb. Go ahead and tell me that Brock's the man. You want to see him fight, and go ahead and leave all your Conor McGregor comments, knowing that I dislike him. Just get at me. This is something I'm gonna do weekly, and I would love to have co-hosts on here. I'd love to have someone sitting across from me, just so we can debate this stuff back and forth. Because that's when it's really fun. Is when it's an actual conversation, not just me sharing my opinion, but when it's multiple people sharing just their opinion. So I really want to do that. Again, every fight card, we're going to be doing this, promoting the fighters. Tomorrow, I have an interview, should be out soon. And I'm just looking forward to this and thankful for this opportunity to do this. This is a dream come true. Getting paid to sit behind this microphone and talk to athletes and dig into what makes them great, what gives them their drive. I'm so thankful for this opportunity, for SteelFist, and everybody come out March 22nd. You need to like and subscribe and share, please. Let's get some Utah love on this YouTube channel. It is the Undefeated by Choice YouTube channel. Also, you can find us on iTunes under Undefeated by Choice. You can find us on Instagram under SteelFist Fight, and you can find us on Facebook under SteelFist Fight Night. Please come join, like, subscribe, pay attention to what we're doing. We're doing great things. We're doing big things. Everybody, I love you. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. I love you.